Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
There will be an ad at the end of this video. Now, I told you the story about the judge down in Mississippi who issued a temporary restraining order and ordered a newspaper to remove an editorial from its website. And a lot of people asked, is it possible to become a judge and to have never heard of the First Amendment? Is that even a thing that could happen? Well, we've got a happy ending, although it took a little while to get here. Mississippi City drops lawsuit over newspaper editorial that judge ordered removed. And by dropping the lawsuit, they end the legal action. That means that the newspaper does not have to do anything in response to that TRO. And of course, more people now are wondering, should something happen to this judge? This is from the Associated Press. A Mississippi City dropped its lawsuit against a newspaper that had its editorial criticizing local leaders removed by a judge in a case that sparked widespread outrage from First Amendment advocates and pretty much everybody who heard the story. The city of Clarksdale's Board of Commissioners sought to dismiss the lawsuit against the Clarksdale Press Register, filing the request moments after its Board of Commissioners approved the move. The judge in the case must still dismiss her order that the editorial be removed from the paper's website, which the city also asked her to do. She had originally set a hearing for later this week in the case, and the president of the Emmerich newspapers, the parent company of this paper, said, it's still very, very wrong what they did, and it awakened the entire First Amendment community nationally, which is very encouraging. I'm really excited to see how all these people rallied around us to protect our rights. And here's the thing. I'll admit this. I'm impressed by how many people react to constitutional law issues. When I started my channel 10 years ago, I honestly thought that, Steve, if you get too far off into the weeds and constitutional law issues, it's going to be a real snooze fest. And people aren't going to really get into that. So you may got to be careful there. I watch too much of the Beverly Hillbillies. I'm starting to speak like them. Chancery Judge Crystal Wise Martin issued the restraining order against the Press Register last week in connection with the February 8th editorial titled Secrecy, Deception, Erode Public Trust. The piece criticized the city for not sending the newspaper notice about a meeting the city council held regarding a proposed tax on alcohol, marijuana, and tobacco. Clarksdale mayor told the Associated Press he has asked commissioners to drop the lawsuit because of an offer that Emmerich, the publisher, made to write a clarification. Emmerich, however, said the offer was made before the lawsuit was filed and the judge's order and is off the table. So there might be some miscommunication there, but the city's request to the court doesn't mention any offer. SB told the board before it voted to drop the suit, I'm very thankful this matter is now resolved due to the efforts of the owner of the Clarksdale Press Register, the city of Clarksdale. I'm grateful for the compromise. So SB is the Clarksdale mayor. The newspaper's owner had offered to clarify that the council said the lack of notification wasn't a deliberate attempt to hide the meeting, according to a text message he has sent the city. The text also offered to clarify, and by the way, when I read what was in the actual editorial, there was something that I thought looked like a typo. Now, I knew it was a correct quote of what got published, but I was wondering if what got published was a typo. And it may have been because originally the sentence asked whether or not there had been kickback from the community. And they now say it should have said pushback. Did they get pushback from the community? Because you don't get kickback from the community. Kickbacks is often a term for bribery. Pushback is resistance or complaints. The order, that was the order to take down the editorial, was widely criticized by multiple media and free speech advocacy groups, including the National Press Club, the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press, and a bunch of knuckleheads on YouTube, including a guy named Steve Lehto. I just added that part because they didn't mention me. But rarely do you see a video or a topic come up where everybody universally agrees. There are too many contrarians in this world. I could post the most innocuous, harmless video with a theme that I would think everyone agrees on. How could anybody disagree with this? And sure enough, people jump out of the woodwork. No, so you're missing a point, Aaron. It happens on every video. Now, I haven't scrutinized every single comment on the video I put up, but I suspect they're overwhelmingly in favor of, I support the newspaper, and most people understand that. And so if you think about the idea that a newspaper criticizes you and you can run to court and not just sue them for defamation or libel or slander, whatever you think it is. Generally speaking, it's libel if it's written. But you can run to court and not just sue them for damages, but you can get the court to order them to take it down. Most people would go, it doesn't sound right. And the reason it doesn't sound right, and I mentioned this in my original video, is that a temporary restraining order gets granted when one side shows that they have an overwhelming case, a high probability of winning, and they will suffer irreparable harm if the TRO is not granted then and there. And what's your irreparable harm? You go, well, Steve, I've been slandered, I've been libeled, I've been defamed. Okay, and our courts can actually award damages to compensate you for that. And now, some people are going to say, but Steve, if they take the editorial down, it'll lessen the harm. Yeah, and leaving it up just means they have to pay you more. But back up now and ask yourself, okay, if that's true for an individual, that'd be one thing. But these are people who've chosen to get involved in politics, city council and the mayor. And I don't know where you've been for the last couple decades, but elections, even at that level, can get quite heated. People say all kinds of things about each other when they're running for office. And so you got to get kind of a thick skin if you're going to run for office and understand that the courts are less likely to have sympathy for you when you go, hey, somebody said bad things about me, if you're a politician as opposed to a private individual. Okay? Then ask yourself about all of the Supreme Court cases that you've read on the First Amendment. Some of us have read more than others. And notice how the Supreme Court will often preface a case by saying that the First Amendment guarantees, among other things, that the press can report on government and government activities, and they have a larger authority to do that than anything else. So if a newspaper decided to do an expose on you and you're just a person, or they decide to do an expose on this council member or this council or this mayor or this police chief, the Supreme Court would say those people, when the newspapers report on them or when the First Amendment is used to report on them by anybody, that is the purpose of the First Amendment. That's one of them. Freedom of the press. And the press covering the government is one of the primary things that they will always bring up. I'm not saying that the press has just, carte blanche to slander individual citizens or libel them and claim it's news. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying that if you are on the city council or you're the mayor and you're upset about things being written about you by the local press, you have to ask yourself, did you not know this was going to happen when you ran for office? Or did you really think that running for office was literally nothing more than sitting in the backs of cars and parades waving to people as you went down Main Street? No. It's that meeting you go to once a month or every other week where people come up at the podium and scream at you. That's what politics is, my friend. So the people screaming at you have the right to do so, and the newspapers have got the right to cover you and talk about you. And by the way, the fact that you didn't notify the newspaper about a hearing that appears to have been quite important does allow them to ask the question, Why didn't you tell us that? So there you go. So the judge will presumably let her TRO be extinguished and the newspaper can proceed. And they said that they will change those words from kickback to pushback, but they're saying that wasn't part of the deal. They made the offer before the TRO got granted. So that just is as an aside, as they say. So again, Phil and Wade are the first two people to send this to me. And they sent it to me within 3 minutes of each other. So that's pretty cool. The Associated Press published the story, though. Mississippi City drops the lawsuit over the newspaper editorial that the judge had ordered removed. Unbelievable. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye. I told you at the top there'd be an ad at the end of the video. I'm here to talk to you about Home Title Lock. Home Title Lock is a service you need to know about if you're a homeowner, because nowadays you got to watch out for home theft. Home theft. And I've done videos about this where people can mess with the title to your home and sell your house to somebody or mortgage your house without you knowing it. All kinds of crazy stuff can happen these days. And so here's an example from justice.gov. This is straight off the government's website. A 55-year-old McAllen resident in Texas has pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud, according to the U.S. attorney there. The defendant admitted she knowingly participated in a scheme using falsified lien payoff statements, fraudulent warranty deeds, and deceptive emails to mislead lenders, title companies, and property buyers. From November of 2020 until she was arrested, she defrauded buyers and lenders in multiple property transactions while working at a title company in Texas. Using her position, she facilitated closings backed by falsified documents. In one particular case, she directed others to create a fraudulent email address resembling that of a legitimate lien holder. She then used the fake account to send false payoff amounts via interstate wires, leading a title company to improperly disburse more than $350,000. She facilitated additional fraudulent property transactions, including arranging closings on properties that had already been sold and accepting undisclosed cash payments. By concealing the true nature of these deals, she caused significant financial harm to the affected parties. Now, she got busted. She's going to get sentenced and could go to prison for 20 years. So you might go, oh, well, it's a happy ending then, right? Well, except for the people whose property she messed with. And that's the problem, is that, yeah, they arrested her. She's going to jail. Okay. What about all the different titles to the properties that she messed around with? And so nowadays, a lot of people are familiar with the idea. You go to a closing, you sign a stack of documents this thick, and then you leave. It's your property now. Some documents get sent to the clerk's office, the Register of Deeds office, and they register them and they do what they do with them and stamp them and accept filing fees. But they don't double check stuff the way you wish they would. And that's really the problem. Anybody can walk into a clerk's office and file something. Hey, I'm going to file this. The clerk doesn't sit there and quiz the person who's handing it in, nor do they do extensive research to find out how accurate this is. They look at it and go, oh, it looks like something that gets filed all day long. We'll file it. Next thing you know, this thing's been filed and you might not know about it. And that's really the problem. The real problem is how quickly you find out that somebody's done something with your property title, right? So Home Title Lock's exclusive $1 million triple lock protection offers 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and if fraud should occur, their U.S.-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix the fraud and restore your title. Okay? So I've teamed up with Home Title Lock to give you a free title history report so you can find out if you're already a victim and access to your personal title expert, which is a $250 value just for signing up. So go to HometitleLock.com, use my promo code LEHTO'sLaw250, or click on the link in the description, and make sure to check out the $1 million triple lock protection details when you get there. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code LEHTO'sLaw250 to get the protection and peace of mind you deserve. And so one of the most important things here is how soon you find out that something happened on your title. And I mentioned before that when I first heard about Home Title Lock, I signed up for the service. I signed up for it, and I got that report. I started going through the report, and I immediately spotted something wrong with it. And there was a problem. Now, the weird part is that I had been to my closing. I attended my own closing. Of course I did. But I had somebody with me who was actually an attorney. I had somebody ask me about that once, not too long ago. They said, Steve, maybe the fact that you're an attorney means you let your guard down. No, I had an attorney with me at the closing. I know attorneys, it's easy to come by when you're in the profession, get an attorney to show up for something like that. So I have an attorney with me. We go through all the documents, we sign documents, and I leave and I'm happy. And then I know some documents get sent off to the clerk's office for filing. Well, somebody at the clerk's office has to type the information in. And using a fat finger or missing a key or doing something wrong, they typed something wrong. There was a mistake. Now, here's the thing. I had no legitimate reason to worry about this because the documents got filed. Why would I worry? And I now know, something was mistakenly done with my paperwork after it got filed. No fault of mine, no fault of my attorney. It just got filed wrong. And so that's something I discovered. Now, I would not have found that out if I hadn't had home title lock. I wouldn't have found it out unless and until I checked, which would most likely be when I go to sell my property, which might not be for a while. And so there'd be this mistake floating around out there that I wouldn't know about. Now, I'll admit that mistake in my title situation is not as bad as the ones I just described to you out of Texas. But the point is that you don't know this stuff. How do you know this stuff? So when you sign up, you get that free report. And you can look at it and go, there's a mistake. Or, hey, everything looks good. You never know until you actually take a look. And so the funny part is I've spoken to a lot of people now about home title lock. I asked them, when was the last time you checked the history on the title to your home? And they go, at the closing. Right. So most people look at it twice. Once when they buy the property, once when they sell the property. And it's this part in the middle that we're worried about. Okay? So remember, this is important. I've teamed up with Home Title Lock to give you a free title history report so you can find out if you're already a victim and access to your personal title expert, which is a $250 value, just for signing up. Go to HometitleLock.com, use my promo code LehtosLaw250, or click on the link in the description, and make sure to check out the $1 million triple lock protection details when you get there. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code LehtosLaw250 to get the protection and peace of mind you deserve. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Life isn't a matter of milestones, but of moments.